Yo everyone, I just wanted to make a video detailing pretty much with the focus on add-ons and layout of your UI in relation to Priest playing in RMP in 3.3. We'll also cover stuff like gearing, maybe spell usage, of course talents, glyphs as well, and I'll cover most of these things. We'll also go over certain macros that are specific to 3's RMP mirrors, not RMP mirrors, but 3's lettering in general. Also other macros that are pretty useful for 3's. I know, just honestly, a really good priest did a similar video to this. My video is going to follow the same sort of layout, I guess, but it's going to be more focused to the Theory 3 aspect of priest play, whereas his was a disc warrior guide pretty much. So yeah, let's just get right into it here. Alright, yeah, let's first talk about add-ons that I use for 3's in Arena. The main ones being, of course, Gladius. This is where I have mine laid out. Decent cast bars, triggers over here with the timer, and here the CC lands there. That's pretty much, everyone has that add-on, pretty much. Along with Glad Ministers, so DRs on different sides, whatever. You can configure this. Lose Control is actually a really good add-on. It shows the CC on your targets, your focus, your teammates, and on yourself, and also has a number if you work with Omni CC. Really great add-on. I use it for a long time now. Omni CC, of course, shows the cooldown on your bars there. Great. You just need it, pretty much. Pub, also another amazing add-on, actually shows your teammates cooldowns. Really useful in RP, especially when you're going to set up CC or set up damage or swaps or whatever. Pitbull, yeah. This is the raid frame add-on I use for my party frames and my own player frame. So, for example, when I'm in 3's, it stacks up like party member 1 here, party member 2 there, and myself here. I made this add-on, well, I used Pitbull and configured it to make it look like the Cataclysm raid frames, because I was used to those by the time I came back to ET. It's just really easy way to see things. It's got predicted health and stuff like that, and buffs, debuffs, everything you really need to see in one glance, pretty much. Stuff for Q4S, it's really good add-on. Press down, and it uses the spell. Quartz, really good cast bar add-on. I don't actually use for my target or anything like that. It's just too bulky. I don't really like it there. Just for my own cast bar, it's easy to see, and it's not that. It's better than the default one for sure. What else? Yeah, I have this add-on here. It's called Event Alert, so it shows on my priest borrowed time from shields. Really useful to know as a priest. It gives you extra haste. A really awesome underused mechanic in the game is borrowed time. Really good to get used to that. For the spells, for example, you'd run in, shield yourself or a teammate, and then spawn the spell, and 25% faster. Really good shit. Let me see, anything else I can talk about in relation to add-ons. Oh, of course, intro bar. I have mine hidden, of course, and mine's not as advanced as some others. I know some people have some really cool stuff on there. Like Shadow Dance, for example, I should have. Step, useful as well. But I got the basic stuff here, like Fear and CS and Deep. I think as a priest, it's really important to have CS and Deep versus the mages. If you know those two cooldowns, you can pretty much be safe from all CC all the time, pretty much. Just gonna hit that again. Alright, so that's add-ons pretty much. Let's talk about my layout. It's pretty much close to default in regards to the way the action bar is laid out. Usually when I'm playing, I have the hotkeys hidden along with these griffins hidden, but I wanted just to show it for this video, to have it up here so people see keybinds and stuff like that. I also hide these bars over there. I hide them when I play. Where my units are, they're together. Focus over here. It's pretty default. Like it's just pushed in from the edge, so I don't have to look as far, I guess. I have my shot box down here. It's usually when I play, it's on Whisper or something, so it's hidden pretty much. It's just information you don't need to see when you're playing Arena. So yeah, I also have a lot of macros that are spells but look like other spells. So like the tooltip would show another spell. It's just basically on first glance I can see when a cooldown's ready. So Fears in 2 places, Disprayer, Shower Death, Penance, PS, palm, stuff like that. Just the main things you need to see quickly are there to see, bubble, stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to go over now important 3 macros that I think are useful. So, yep, shackle and dead. This is the macro I use for my shackle. In 3s, pretty much the only thing you're going to shackle is the Ebon Gargoyle from the DK. Really good unit. You want to shackle that as fast as you can, and shackle it when the other team's healer is in CC, so they can't just dispel it instantly and your class is wasted. I have some Shadow with Death macros. They're pretty standard. I mean, you find those on the internet anywhere. I got my just regular targeting dispel macros. You know, all these stuff. You know, it's just regular stuff. Good wand macro here. It just means you can spam it, and if you drop the target of your enemy, it doesn't stop wanding. It's really useful stuff. So you could like target a totem, wand it, and target another thing at the same time. Not drop your target, not stop wanding. Let me see. Yeah, weapon swap macros. They're so important for 3s, I think, in my opinion. I mean, you can gain. Let's have a look here. The stats you can gain is actually crazy. So I have 4 main weapons swaps that I use. I'm gonna stick them over here. I have the first one, which is spell penetration on my offhand, and MP5 on my main hand. The next is spirit PvE weapon, chieftain staff, along with spirit's wand. That gives me pretty high MP5, so that's pretty sick. And then I have another one for just pure haste, so it's like almost 650 haste right there. So that's against my base cleave, TSG, stuff where you're not gonna look for longevity, but just pure haste priest. Another one I have is just, this is the one versus like LSPs, stuff like that with Pala, where you have your MP5 main hand, but your offhands are haste as well, just to get more haste. It's pretty useful to have haste. What else can we talk about here in regards to macros? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, anything else is just related to the way I have stuff laid out. Actually, let's go back and talk about power auras. It's actually a really sick add-on. So I have maybe a couple main power auras that I would use. So I'm just going to show them all at the same time so you can have a look. Yep. Alright. Are you serious? Alright. So this one shows where my fear word is. So if I have it up, it shows. So this is just really useful for against priests, so you can look quickly at a glance without having to look through all the like a ton of the buffs that you have at the same time. You can just see if you have fear word or not, and you know not get worried. This one in the middle is my inner fire one. So if I don't have inner fire, it shows up. It's really useful to have this. I mean, if you drop inner fire, you're just going to take so much more damage. You really need this spell up all the time, pretty much. This next one is deep freeze. It shows when my focus frame, so for example I focus a mage, it shows when they get the deep freeze proc, and I know that I can lost or call it to my teammates that the mage is going to deep soon, maybe try and spell steal it, stuff like that. Finally, this one is my spirit buff, so we can just close all this. If I turn off my divine spirit, it shows this. It just means that I'm going to put it back on. Divine spirit's actually a really sick buff. It's almost 50 MP5 that you gain by using this one buff, and it doesn't cost that much mana, so I recommend trying to keep it up, even if it gets purged off. You know, purge it back, put it back up again. It's gonna save you a lot of MP5. So yeah, that's about it for all add-ons and layout and stuff. I think not much else to say. Just gonna go over and hide this because it's just ugly. And I want to talk about spec now. So most of the stuff is pretty cookie cutter, you know, you're gonna have these talents in like pretty much every spec playing priest. You could maybe drop mana burn versus some comps and take up like maybe one absolution and one more divine aegis versus maybe LSP, stuff where you're not gonna burn pretty much ever. However, in RP mirrors you're gonna burn mages. In druid teams I think you can burn as well. I think it's viable. Some people don't do it. I think it's pretty good versus like Shadow Priest Druid X, Shadow Priest Druid Shaman, something like that, where it's so many healers that you just have to burn to get one locked down pretty much the whole game. Attack Absolution here for your mana. Basically, you don't want to run out of mana in 3s. It's the worst thing that can happen really. You want to really focus on managing your mana, managing your Shadow Fiend, getting really good Shadow Fiends off. It's so important in 3s to watch your mana. Standard stuff here. You take 2 Grace for just your trash debuffs. You don't want your stuff getting dispelled, it's really bad. Along with this, it's not resolved. 1 damage ages, because you never fucking crit as a priest, so you don't need that. Check out that. But you don't need that that fully. You have other stuff that's better here. I want to talk about this actually. In the Holy, there's actually a few options you can go with. You can take 3 here instead of 3 there. You drop crit for like pure healing in Improved Renew. I played with this a while ago for a while. I don't know. I went back to playing with crit, but I think you can go with this pretty okay. Another thing when you're playing against LSPs, and I think on ladder generally, you shouldn't spec Divine Fury at all. You should spec 5 out of 5 Soul Warding, and it's really good against PHPs or PhDs and LSPs really. When swaps on you just get reduced by so much damage, it's great. You don't have to worry as much, maybe not even use CDs when they swap to you and stuff like that. Inspiration, really sick. Despair, yep. You can't really go with a Shadow spec for 3s, it just doesn't work. You lose too much good stuff right here. You need Despair, you need Inspiration in my opinion, and this is so useful, so warding. Alright, glyphs. You got your 2 staples, you got Penance, Pain Suppression, and the third one's kind of swapped out a bit. I think Power Word Shield Glyph is really sick. I mean, the healing you do with it is just, it's just for healing basically. It's like 1.5k healing or whatever, depending on your spell power. Just a really solid glyph that you should use. Minor glyphs, Shackle, Levitate, really good for keeping combat. Shadow Fiend. You could drop this out for improved Shadow Protection, so you could play the Shadow Protection on one of these keybinds and then buff it up against priests. Maybe get a lucky resist on fear or something like that. So that's the spec generally. You can look these up on the army or whatever. This is what I would play with this being changed to that. So warding. It's pretty standard stuff. I think it's really safe as well. You get mana and you get your charge buffs. That's what you want. Alright, moving on to the gearing of a priest in 3's RMP. A lot different than I think a lot of priest comps these days in the new like priest style of gameplay. I mean, a lot of priests would play with like 1.3 resilience, 1k MP5, 200 haste. I mean, that's just the ladder stuff. That's like LD Shaman, Disc Priest Hunter, Disc Priest Warrior. The only thing exception on Disc Priest Mage as well is you play with that sort of gear. Disc Priest Rogue, I think you play with this sort of gear, 1.2 resi, MP5, a bit of haste, but also focus on MP5 I think in 2s. It's just such a good stat really. And in 3s your main priorities are, I mean once again MP5, then haste, then resilience. I think this is a pretty good number for resilience, like 1.2 in 3s. You don't need 1.3. I think you just lose too much haste for it to be really worth it overall, and you're not going to be swapped to in a lot of by a lot of teams. So yeah, it's good stats right here. And of course, you know, going back to the weapon swap, you can make it up, like something around. So let's look at some of the items that are really like, it just shows, you know, what's valuable in the items that you pick. So this item right here, it's the Choker Filthy Diamonds. It's pure MP5, pure haste. I mean, it's such a good, it's just all the stats you want basically in one item. I mean, you don't get anything useless.
Hey, you know,
same exact thing here with the cape. I mean, MP5 and haste is just perfect what you want. Offsets, I don't really like getting the spirit offsets compared to just pure haste. I don't think spirit benefits you as much as getting MP5 gear. So you don't gain as much basically than you would gain if you just pick haste. Another really good off piece here is a Circle of Oasis. Got 3 gem slots, haste, spirit. Once again, you know, if that spirit was MP5 it would be sick, but yeah, what can you do? Once again, MP5 haste, just really good solid stats to play with. You can also get the PvE legs. I forget what they're called right now, but I mean, it's just the only ones you can get pretty much. They're really good to use instead of this, or instead of this, I can't remember. And you gain, you gain more mana regen for trading off resilience. That's what you want to do when you play Horde. I'll actually talk about that in a minute. Why you'd play Horde as RMP, why you play Undead as a priest and stuff like that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's gearing in general. That's the stats you want. And just remember, weapon swapping, you'll really never go in with this kind of MP5 if you just play fairly conservatively. Don't fuck up. That's it. Yeah, that's about everything I think for that sort of stuff. Alright. So why play Undead? Alright, let's think about it this way. When you're playing on ladder, you're gonna face pretty much the CC comps you're gonna face are fears. The biggest CC is fear. So in LSPs, you know, stuff like that. It's fear. So the logic behind this is they're gonna go on your rogue most of the time and try and force cloak, trying to kill, blah blah blah. So what you're doing is giving yourself more opportunities to be able to heal your rogue when he doesn't have cloak. So for example, in 3s, your rogue will cloak CC, your rogue cloak damage, sorry, when you're in CC, so you're in fear and your rogue cloak. You shouldn't trinket and cloak in the same time, it's just a waste, and that means that they can capitalize on the fact that you have no trinket and he has no cloak at the same time. So what you want to do is, in one instance where he's taking damage, he cloaks, and then the next one he has no cloak, you're able to trinket, heal him up, come back, you know, and then the next time he goes out he has cloak again, but you have no trinket, and that's how it works. And basically when you're playing Undead, you're giving yourself more opportunities to have more uptime, basically playing the game, because you're not in fears, or full fears. Of course your teammates should be able to stop those fears, or stop those CCs for the most part, but when they can't, it's good to be able to break them, of course. Your teammates in RP, when they're playing Horde, should be Blood Elf. I think it's just really strong. The Arcane Torrent is such a good racial, especially for the mage, be able to stop CC, get CC, a bit of mana as well. Also for the rogue, energy back, just more damage overall. You don't lose that much from playing human, I don't think. You lose MP5, you lose spell power, but in the end you gain. It's just really good shit right here, like the double trinkets, and you lose double trinkets, sorry, and you gain a second trinket, basically PvP trinket. So overall it's pretty good. I don't think there's anything else really to talk about. I think that's it. Pretty good. Gems, MP5, shit like that. Want your hit cap. You really want your hit cap as a priest in RMP. You need to hit those fears, you need to hit those damage. For example, when you're killing pets against LSP or hunter pets or whatever, your damage really matters. So it's like Holy Fire, Mind Blast, Penance, Shadow of Death. That's your rotation, that's your damage, and that helps get kills pretty much most of the time. It's really important to damage as a priest in certain situations, and in some other situations it's more important to dispel your rogue, give them up down on the target. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope this guide was useful to someone, and if there's any questions or anything, just feel free to ask me in game or in forums or anyway at all, I don't really care. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, see you later.